What would you do if you lost everything? Your family, your safety, even your own childhood. And all that was left was a crumbling house at the edge of nowhere, haunted by memories and the kind of silence that makes you wonder if you even exist anymore. You ever think about how a kid survives something like that? Because that's where my story begins. With a secret that lived in the dark and a little girl named Ella Parker who just wouldn't give up, no matter how hard the world tried to erase her. For years, nobody remembered the old house at Whispering Pines. It sat at the end of a dirt road, windows cracked, porch half fallen, and wild pines crowding close as if trying to shield the place from the world. But inside, hidden where the light barely touched, lived Ella, 8 years old, abandoned by tragedy. Even when the loneliness felt like a second skin. Most days, Ella moved in silence, listening to the house breathe, every creak and moan a warning, every shadow a possible threat. She kept her treasures close, a doll with one eye, a photo worn to near invisibility, a threadbare blanket that still held a trace of her mother's scent. She watched the empty road, half afraid, half hoping someone might come. But when that engine finally roared down the path, when that battered old truck appeared like some beast from a fairy tale, her world shattered all over again. Out stepped the Mitchells, Mark with his work-worn hands and no-nonsense voice, Grace with eyes so kind they hurt to look at, and little Owen, who, truth be told, looked just as scared as Ella felt. They were here to claim the house, start over, fix what time had destroyed. But nobody told them a wild, desperate child was already inside, fighting for her own kind of survival. Let me back up a sec. You know that feeling when you're about to lose the last thing that keeps you safe? That's what Ella felt as she watched the strangers unlock the door. Sunlight flooding rooms that hadn't seen warmth in years. Owen, curious as a cat, wandered off, right down the hallway that Ella called home. Their eyes met, just a flash, but enough to tear the veil between two worlds. Ella froze, heart slamming, while Owen stumbled back, pale as a ghost. "Mom, there's someone here," he whispered, voice trembling. But of course, adults never believe that sort of thing. Grace shrugged it off, but the seed of doubt was planted, and from that moment, nothing could go back to the way it was. Night fell heavy. Ella curled up tight, every sense screaming. Should she stay hidden or run? Trust a boy who looked as lost as she felt, or vanish forever? That kind of fear, it does something to you. Makes you smaller, and yet somehow sharper, like the world is testing how much you can take before you finally break. But Owen wouldn't let it go. He told his parents again and again, until Mark finally searched the house top to bottom, flashlight glancing over the blanket, the doll, the life Ella guarded. Nothing here, Mark grumbled, but Grace was different. The next morning, she found Ella, small, dirty, shivering but defiant. She knelt down, soft as dusk, and whispered, "You don't have to be afraid. We just want to help." For a moment, Ella almost believed her. That's the thing about trust. It's slow, painful, never comes easy when you've learned all the ways it can be broken. But Grace kept coming, day after day, bringing warmth and food and patience. Mark made calls. Social workers in sharp suits appeared, full of forms and rules. Before Ella knew what was happening, she was swept away to Sunflower Haven, an orphanage as cold and sterile as a hospital, all echoes and unfamiliar faces. If you've never been yanked from the only place you've ever called home, you don't know what true fear is. But the Mitchells didn't forget her. They visited every week, Owen bringing drawings and stories, Grace reading books until Ella drifted to sleep, Mark sitting silent, fierce, always watching, always ready. For the first time, Ella felt a flicker of belonging. But right then, the real danger walked in, disguised as family. Linda Harper. The name sounded safe, an aunt, a promise of kin. But when she showed up, her smile was all teeth and calculation, her eyes cold, her words sharp. "She's my niece. I'm all she has left," Linda declared, grabbing for custody. Something in Ella shrank. Memories surfacing, Linda's hands on the family checkbook, her voice whispering in the dark about what should have been hers. Mark and Grace saw it, too. They started digging. Found documents, bank transfers, hidden files, stories that didn't add up. Turns out, Linda had been after the inheritance since day one, her sudden concern for Ella nothing but a mask. Then came the day in court, a place where truth and lies wrestle for control. Linda, all polished and perfect, painted herself as the hero. The Mitchells, hands trembling, spoke about love and belonging. And Ella, in a moment nobody saw coming, stood up, voice quivering but steady. She did it, Ella said, staring Linda down. She made the crash happen. She wanted the money. The room froze. Gasps, whispers, the judge leaning forward. Suddenly the world listened to a child who'd been invisible her whole life. Investigations opened. Evidence surfaced. Emails, a mechanic's testimony, the way Linda manipulated everything from behind the scenes. It was enough. The court stripped her of all rights. And custody was granted to Grace and Mark, the people who had chosen Ella, not because they had to, but because they wanted her. That night, back at Whispering Pines, the house felt different. The darkness was softer, the rooms warmer, laughter echoing where fear once lived. Grace made pancakes. Mark fixed up an old bike. Owen and Ella built forts out of blankets, daring the world to break them again. But healing isn't a straight line. Some nights, Ella still woke in terror, clutching her doll, memories flooding back. Yet every time, Grace was there, holding her close, whispering, "You're safe. You're home." Seasons turned, leaves fell, and with each day, Ella grew stronger, smiles coming easier, nightmares fading. She found her place, her voice, her family. And in the heart of Willow Creek, people began to talk, not about tragedy, but about resilience, about how a broken child could become a beacon, showing everyone what it means to fight for your own happy ending. But here's the question, and I want you to answer honestly. If you were Ella, would you have spoken up? If you were Grace or Mark, how far would you go for a child who wasn't yours by blood, but became yours by heart? And if Linda Harper had shown up in your life, would you trust her? Or listen to that small voice inside warning you something was off? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you'd do. Ever had to choose between comfort and truth? Between letting go and fighting for justice? That's what makes us human. And hey, if this story moved you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs hope. And let's keep this conversation going, because stories like Ella's remind us all that even in the darkest moments, there's a light waiting to break through. You know, after the storm settles and the courtroom lights fade, most people think a happy ending just appears, like the world owes you peace after all you've been through. But the truth? Sometimes the real battle starts when the crowd goes home, when you're left with scars nobody else can see and a heart that doesn't quite believe it's finally safe. For Ella, life with the Mitchells was something out of a dream she was too afraid to have. A warm bed, the smell of cinnamon pancakes in the morning, the gentle chaos of family dinners where laughter bounced off the kitchen walls. Mark, still a man of few words, would ruffle her hair on his way to the porch each morning. Grace tucked sticky notes in Ella's lunch, little reminders that someone cared, that she mattered. And Owen, well, he was a whirlwind of energy and kindness, dragging Ella into the woods for secret forts and afternoons chasing sunlight through the pines. But healing's messy, unpredictable. You ever watch a stray dog try to trust again? That's Ella, flinching at sudden noises, apologizing for taking up space, waking at midnight with tears she didn't know how to hide. There were nights she'd sneak to the window, staring at the old road, half expecting Linda to return or her parents to walk up the path, whole and smiling, calling her home. Those memories, both cruel and comforting, made every new joy feel fragile, like it could shatter if she held it too tight. One chilly October morning, Ella found herself alone at the playground after school. She swung slow, shoes scraping dust, lost in her own world until a new voice broke through. "Hey, you're the girl from the house on Whispering Pines, right?" It was Maya, a foster kid with wild braids and eyes sharp as glass. Maya's reputation at Willow Creek Elementary was complicated. She was tough, guarded, a little too quick with sarcasm. But something in her smile said she recognized the kind of hurt Ella carried. For days, Maya hovered near, sometimes friendly, sometimes distant, testing boundaries. Then, after a fire drill left Ella shaken and out of breath, Maya just sat next to her in silence. "People expect you to just move on, don't they?" she said, voice barely above a whisper. "But you can't. Not really. You just learn to carry it better." Ella didn't answer, but something inside her loosened. Maybe there was room for more than one kind of family. With Maya around, the story took a new turn. Suddenly, Ella wasn't the only kid with a past nobody wanted to talk about. They started to trade secrets, hiding places, favorite snacks, fears that kept them up at night. One afternoon, Maya confessed that her last foster home had ended badly, that she didn't believe in forever. People always leave, she said, her laughter bitter. Or they turn on you when it matters most. Ella looked at her, really looked, and replied, not all of them. Some stay, but peace is never simple. Rumors about Linda's appeal began to swirl through town. Old friends of the Parker family, folks who didn't know the truth, started whispering that maybe Ella was better off with blood. Grace caught wind of it at church, felt eyes linger just a little too long. Mark's job at the hardware store brought him face to face with Linda's cousin, who tossed around words like justice and family legacy as if they weighed nothing. One night, while the family gathered around the fireplace, the phone rang, unlisted, the kind that makes your stomach drop. Mark answered, face tight. You need to watch yourself. The voice warned, low and cold. Some folks don't like what you did to Linda. The Mitchells tried to keep it from Ella, but she felt the tension like static in the air. The world, it seemed, still wanted to test if she truly belonged. That weekend, the Mitchells took Ella and Owen camping, deep in the woods, away from prying eyes. Under a sky thick with stars, Ella finally let herself ask the question that had haunted her since the trial. Why did you fight for me? She whispered to Grace, voice trembling. Grace's reply was simple, but it landed like a promise. Because you're ours now. And family doesn't give up on each other. Not ever. For the first time, Ella let herself believe it might be true. Still, shadows lingered. At school, Maya got into trouble for defending Ella from a group of older kids repeating ugly gossip. Maya ended up suspended, and that old fear crept back. What if loving someone always ended in loss? Owen, awkward but earnest, tried to cheer her up. Families stick. You can't get rid of us that easy, he teased, offering half his peanut butter sandwich. One day a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a photo, Ella as a toddler with her parents, taken long before everything went wrong. On the back, a scrawled note. Don't forget where you came from, but don't be afraid to become someone new. There's more family out there than you think. No signature. The handwriting wasn't Linda's, maybe a neighbor, or someone who wanted to help, or maybe just a final nudge from fate itself. Time moved on. Ella's laughter came easier, nightmares faded, but the past never quite disappeared. She and Maya made a pact to always have each other's backs, no matter what. The Mitchells watched their little family grow, love tested but never broken. And yet, just as things seemed to settle, a news headline rocked the town. Linda Harper appeals, new evidence surfaces. The screen flashed with Linda's image, older now, but those sharp eyes unchanged. Ella stood frozen, a cold knot forming in her chest, while Mark turned off the TV, voice gentle but firm. Whatever happens, we're in this together. So here's my question for you. If the past came knocking, would you let it in? Do you believe people can truly start over? Or are some wounds just too deep? Would you trust new family, or cling to old loyalties even if they hurt you? Drop your answer below. Let's talk about what family really means. And if you want to see what happens next for Ella, hit that like button, share this story, and tell us. What would you do if you had to choose between where you came from and where you want to go? Because sometimes, the most powerful journeys begin not with a happy ending, but with a question that refuses to let you go.